We are back in handling the grass season, but grass growing means spending significantly less money on hay, so, you know, it's a give and take. What's up, Bear? It looks good out here. Good job.
Dream team.
Dream team. Teamwork makes the dream work. What's up, Toad? What you got there, bud?
Eggs. Not much.
Not many, huh?
Yeah.
Wonder why.
Thank you, there.
Love you. Hey, sheep. Good morning. Good morning. Tilly, you are always the most curious one. It is such a beautiful morning. We've been having really warm weather the last few days, and holding my camera up is hard. My arms hurt so bad from working in the garden. I swear every time springtime comes around, it's like I have to go back through the process of waking my muscles up after the winter. But everything just feels so good. The nice weather, though there's been a lot of rain, has meant we've been able to get a lot of things done. And there's also been kind of a domino effect, like the trees here that fell over during Helene that we hadn't cleaned up had fallen on the big pile of gravel that we got to fix up the areas in the driveway that needed it. So like Maya got the trees cleaned up and then filled in all of the areas that needed to be filled in. And so there are multiple factors to everything just feeling so fresh and new and alive. It is warm though. Hey babies. Good morning. They're going to try to go to their mom's, but they're not out yet. Oh, hey there, Avocado Kitty. Did you find a place to look out over us all? To rule the roost? The high today is 87 Fahrenheit, 30 Celsius. That's a warm day. It's not a hot day, but it is not uncommon for this time of year. And I think that is really funny. Like, when people are watching my like early spring videos and they're like, you're so lucky we're still under snow. It's all give or take, because it's 87 now, and that's not summer. That's spring. It's gonna get really hot, and it's gonna stay really hot, and it's also incredibly humid. So it's amazing because I'm getting to plant my garden out. I'm getting to put things in the ground, and it's go time, and things are gonna grow super fast because we have the spring rain plus that heat. The grass is going like crazy, which is awesome. You know, like we're out of needing hay, and that's nice financially. But one thing I have to watch really closely with my animals, especially this time of year, because the parasites are rough. When we're getting this much rain and it is this warm, it can be really hard. Especially since a lot of areas are still muddy-ish, like the grass hasn't really fully come in totally yet. And yeah, it just requires a little more intention and paying attention. Toaster Strudel, what's up, girl? Come on out of there. I need some light in here. Oh shoot, the rooster. I'm so scared of him. You gonna keep me company? I am totally in the spring is kicking my butt stage. There really just aren't enough hours in the day to get done everything that needs to be done. Hey y'all, I'm not pulling like a Taylor Swift outfit change mid-video. I just found the footage from the first half of this video on my computer. That was 2 weeks ago. But interestingly, we have another day with an 87-degree high. Sometimes I'll film things and not finish them, and it's not like enough for a whole video. And I really should go back through my hard drives, because what felt too inconsequential to post years ago is probably like something I would like to see now. And there are probably quite a few of those like little half videos that I film and then never finish and kind of forget about. But I figured I'd pick up today where I left you last time, doing goat chores in the morning. And I need to update you on my goats, and unfortunately it's a sad update. All right, let me chat about goats while I milk. So I'll start by giving you just a little backstory if you haven't been here. I've had goats for the better part of the last 10 years. All right, my kids are doing chores, so it might be a little loud.
Are they going crazy?
Yeah, they're just being loud. Ezra's gonna go let the babies out into the pasture. They hear me talking, and that's why they're yelling. And I want you to be able to hear me talking too. So I took a break from having goats when we got cattle because I thought, well, I don't really need them anymore. Previously, we'd had goats because that made the most sense on the property that we were on. We didn't have a lot of pasture space. And I really missed having goats. So spring of last year, I decided to get back into them, and I bought 3 does that were in milk and a bottle baby buckling, and that was unrelated to them. And I bred those does. I milked them all last season. I bred them in the fall. And when we got down to about a month to kidding, of course we dried off and all that stuff, one of my does, Winnie, was just having a hard time holding on to her weight. And I did the things I knew to do. I got some advice. I ended up identifying that she was dealing with some strongles, which is a type of parasitic infection, and treated her for that, which is a pretty aggressive treatment. And she started bouncing back. I was like, man, she's gonna do well. This is great. I was really glad to see her improving. Then she had triplets, which was really surprising. And they were all healthy. They produce so much. I don't milk them out all the way entirely in the morning because I know the babies are going to get on them, so I want to leave something there. Anyway, so Winnie had triplets, and within the first like 3 days of the babies being born, she just immediately started losing body condition really seriously again. So I just decided to pull the babies. And we spent the next 4 weeks like really like babying her, giving her extra food and supplements to help her put weight back on. I was giving her Nutri-Drench. I was doing all this stuff, and her body condition started getting better, but then she got to where she wouldn't stand up on her front feet, like she was on her knees. And I was very concerned because a lot of times that's what happens when a goat has CAE. I just was like, okay, this is beyond me. So we took her to the vet and basically got really rough news at the vet. Now, I want to preface this by saying, when you buy animals from people, there's always a risk. You are always taking a person's word, and even if there is paperwork, I mean, I've heard of people having fraudulent paperwork, and I am admittedly a pretty trusting person when it comes to stuff like this. Now, it may be my naivety that I am still saying I want to give this person the benefit of the doubt. The guy that I bought my goats from had a very clean operation. He had very beautiful animals, and all of my other animals from him have been exceptionally good. So to me, the evidence that I see, I actually do not think that he intentionally lied to me. That could be me being naive again, but I do feel like I would even be willing to buy another animal from him. I would probably go into it more with my eyes open and just be aware, like, okay, hey, mistakes can happen, and I just don't want another one to happen to me. But essentially, in taking Winnie to the vet, I was under the impression that she was 6 when I got her, so therefore she would have been 7 years old now. Still perfectly reasonable age to be breeding goats, like perfectly fine. The vet said according to her teeth she looked more like she was 10 or 11, and that she had multiple masses that they could feel by palpating her chest and breastbone area that they would assume was cancer. But they said given the state of her teeth and the overall state of her health, that they felt like she was quite old, and they did not suggest like moving forward with any sort of like explorative treatments to try to like battle the cancer or anything like that. So on our vet's advice, we chose to go ahead and put Winnie down. She couldn't stand. It had been like a couple weeks since she has stood up properly. I did go ahead and have them do a blood draw before so that I could rule out CAE, and that came back clear. She did not have any sort of like disease in her testing, which was a relief because I have 2 of her dolings and her buckling. And honestly, of the bad news that I could have gotten, CAE would have been a much harder diagnosis to get, because that would have been a death sentence for Winnie in the state she was in, if that's what it was. And it would have also been problematic for her dolings. The fact that she was just old and that she had what, you know, they assume was cancer, that it really was just a her problem. And so her dolings, I can expect health from. Toby's waiting on this milk so he can give it to the little babies. It's fine, I've got Claire on the stanchion now. All right, doing a little goat switcheroo in here. But yeah, it's still really sad. I always like to process through the losses that we have with you guys. I like to share with you kind of the process, the thought process, because this is just a reality of farming. And honestly, I feel like the people who are extremely scathing when they see any loss on a farm, it's just very indicative to me that they haven't done a lot of it. Because if you talk to anyone that has farmed, it's where the saying came from, where there's livestock, there's dead stock. I mean, if you're going to deal with the circle of life, you're going to deal with death. It's an imperative part of a farm. And of course, we want to avoid needless death. We want to avoid wasteful death. We want to avoid poor stewardship. But in the case of this, the real unfortunate thing is just that I didn't know. I didn't have all the facts. And that is part of purchasing animals without papers. There is a system that basically, like with goats, when they're born, they're tattooed. Their tattoo matches their papers. And so that is a pretty strong indicator that you've got the right goat with the right information, so you know how old they actually are. But even still, I mean, you can be sold an animal that has a disease like CAE that can be very devastating for your herd or the future of your herd if you don't have the information. That can happen. It's sad after watching an animal suffer for really 2 months and really struggle to get them back to a place of health, and that everything you know to do is failing. Having an answer like, oh, well, it wasn't really you, it wasn't really your care, this was beyond what could be helped, it's a little relieving. Seeing any living thing that has been in suffering, that suffering end, even if it's a sad way, there's a little bit of relief to that. The fact that it could have been a lot worse and that it's not, there's a little bit of relief to that, but it's still sad. Especially if you're going to have a small herd. You know, if you've got 100 goats, losing one is not as rough. When you have 3 and they're named and they're kind of pets and you know their personalities and they come to you and you have a milking relationship with them, it's more of a loss. So I had already decided before Winnie even had her triplets that I was not planning on breeding her again. Just seeing what the pregnancy did to her condition. And the truth is had I known she was 11 years old, I wouldn't have bred her in the first place. I would have retired her. But had I known she was that old, I wouldn't have bought her. So, I mean, you can keep doing the what if game all the way back. I was already thinking, okay, I'm going to end up reserving a doe, especially then when she went down after birth. And I was struggling so much to like get her back to healthy. We really like firmly solidified that we were going to keep a doeling. Jeremiah has actually, put it on record, suggested that I keep more than one. I don't think Claire and Virgie are like significantly older than I was told they are. They like looking at their teeth, I've looked them all over now, like looking for signs of age. I think that they are in the like 5-year-old range that I've been under the impression that they were in. That kind of tracks. Bye, baby. But Jeremiah was suggesting that maybe I keep a couple of doelings so that they're like at full breeding age in case these girls do need to be retired. So I don't know. They're beautiful goats. They're great goats. I'm gonna let her finish her food. Ben went and took and poured the milk for me. So here are Virgie's 2 kids. Winton right here, he's so big. I really don't need to keep him now that I know for sure I'm keeping the others. I'd been on the fence whether I wanted to keep these does because they weren't raising their kids, but honestly, after this season, they've picked up. I don't have to supplement anymore. I don't have to hold them anymore. Muffin here is Virgie's daughter, and she is absolutely beautiful. Very, very sweet. So she's the one that I was first and foremost planning on keeping. Virgie is a crazy good producer, and she's a very healthy kid. That's Bluey and Bingo. Oh, there's the girls. Hey! Here, y'all can come in here and come eat the hay. So Bluey and Bingo are already spoken for. They are going to a friend's farm. And then this is Trixie, and she is spoken for. I told the person who was interested in her that I wasn't 100% sure yet because I was still waiting to see how she was going to do, and then I was waiting on the CAE test. So we're kind of still on the fence. The kids obviously want to keep her, but I don't know that I need to keep that many. Lucky here, he looks like his mama. On disbudding day, Lucky was not thriving. And so I decided not to disbud him because he was a little bigger and his horns had already started to break through a lot earlier than the rest. So I just left them intact. But he's doing great now. And then this is Chloe, and she's the other one that I really feel certain I'm going to keep. I think she is just so pretty. She's not as well conformed as Muffin is, but these were triplets, so they're just a little smaller. And of course they've been bottle babies, whereas Muffin has been raised primarily on her mom. But I think Chloe is super pretty. When they called us and told us that the CAE test was negative, it was like a massive weight off my shoulders, because that had me pretty concerned, because I'd let all these babies eat off of her that first couple of days, which is how CAE has passed. And CAE is a pretty devastating disease for goats. So that was one thing that I had really made sure to ask. Is your herd clean? And of course I was assured it was. And I could see a mistake happening. I could see a mistake happening as far as a goat being, you know, maybe you have the wrong animal, maybe you have your dates wrong. You think it's younger than it is, especially if you're not getting your papers out to look. And maybe I just got taken, I don't know. But I don't know. I'm gonna choose to live in a place of the benefit of the doubt. But somebody who is breeding and testing regularly, they know if they have CAE in their herd, and it would have really just like hurt my heart, one, to have to deal with that in my herd, or two, to know that I've been lied to like that. Hey. These two are a mess. Bottle babies. They stay in your back pocket. So yeah, that's my goat update. It's never fun to share updates like that, but you know, if I encouraged you to take on the homesteading life and led you to believe that this isn't going to be part of it, that would be very disingenuous, and I don't think that it would allow people to really have their minds right going into it. When it comes to losses on the farm, some are harder than others. You know, I had a good cry over Winnie. And there have been a few moments since then that I come out here and it just hits me again. But again, like I said, it's bittersweet because it's laced with some relief for the fact that I knew she wasn't okay. Yeah. Guess that's really it on that topic. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and all the days you do. God bless you. Until next time.